we have faculty who truly care about our students, and that connection is priceless. Hearing these students talk about how the scholarships that they got enable them to take one less shift at their job, to pay their rent, to see the true impact that we're having on students' lives, really changing trajectories of people's lives, especially people who never thought college was for them. I'm in this business because I truly believe that community colleges change lives.
Hello, I'm Rich Gore, the host of Pathways and Possibilities. Welcome to our second episode, brought to you by the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County. I'm thrilled today for our second broadcast to be with Dr. William Mullaney, who's the president of Rockland Community College here in Rockland. And if you live in Rockland, the community college has probably touched all of us in some way, whether we go there to see a show, go there, take an extra class. I know my daughter, while she was in high school, did her senior year in high school at RCC before she graduated Clarkstown North. So welcome to Pathways and Possibilities, Dr. Mullaney.
Richard, so glad to join you today.
So, it's called Pathways and Possibilities. That's what we do here. And I gotta know, how does one become president of a community college? Was it on your path? Can you tell us a little bit about your path? But did you see it at a young age, or did it come? Can you take us through your journey if you can?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So I have to say it was a bit of a winding path. Neither one of my parents went to college, but there wasn't a day growing up where my three sisters and I didn't know we were going to college. My parents made that clear to us.
Really?
Since they didn't go to college, it was sort of like finding our way,
Well, that's interesting.
Before I was finding our way. But I'd have to say college really changed my life.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Love it. I love that town.
Yeah. Oh, it's
really
beautiful.
do.
It's beautiful. But the only reason I went there was because, like I said, my parents didn't know anything about college. They knew a guy in my town had gone there. So they said, you should apply to that school. I said, okay, let's go there. And
Where'd you grow up?
Lynbrook, New York, South Shore, Nassau County.
Long Island guy.
Yeah, Long Island boy.
Well, welcome to Rockland.
Thank you. So went to the University of Virginia. I majored in English because I had an amazing high school English teacher. Didn't know what else to major in, so he said,
Right.
he told me, you know how to write. So I said, well, I guess I'm good at this. I'll major in English. Didn't think too much about what the career would be. Graduated from college, worked in New York City for McGraw-Hill Publishing Company as an editorial assistant.
Which publishing company?
McGraw-Hill.
Oh, McGraw-Hill, okay.
Did that for a while, and then they said, if you're going to move up in publishing, you need to become a salesperson. So they shipped me off to Buffalo, and I was a college rep in Buffalo, New York.
Wow, that's really interesting. My daughter went to Buffalo.
Oh, did she?
Maybe not daughter, I don't know. She did, actually. Actually, she liked Buffalo, the town itself.
Oh, it's a great town. I mean,
It's
I had the
underrated.
best apartment I've ever had in my life was in Buffalo.
No, it actually gets a bad rap.
Yeah. But I realized sales wasn't for me, so that's when I decided to go back to graduate school. But I also had the California dream in my head, so I said I'm going to kill two birds with one stone, move to California and go to graduate school. So trekked across the country, settled in San Diego, went to graduate school, and that's where I think things really began to settle for me. As a graduate student, I began doing some student teaching, and realized that I really liked it, and connected with students in a way that I said, I could see this as a career for me. So I was all set on heading down that path of becoming a professor, which I did at a community college in Arizona. And
which one?
Chandler Gilbert. It's one of the Maricopa schools in the Phoenix area.
Right.
And was, loved teaching, just felt like I'd found my career, loved the community college. I felt, as an English teacher, I would read the student papers and, realize the complicated lives that community college students have. And, I really felt that I was where I needed to be.
When you say complicated lives, what do you mean specifically?
Well, I grew up, suburbs of New York, middle-class existence, right. Didn't realize how easy I had it until I started reading what our students at community college go through. The sort of financial challenges, sometimes the incarceration challenges, sometimes drug use, and just all these balls that they have to deal with that they're juggling at such a young age. And at that age, they're obviously spilling themselves onto their paper and just reading so much about their lives, and came to realize that if it were not for the community college, these people would not have access to higher education and better lives for themselves. And I felt like I'd found my home. And I was, as I said, excited to be a teacher, for my career until my department chair said she was stepping down and said, Bill, I think you might be good at this job. I said, really? I'm a teacher. She goes, no, I think you might like this. And that set me on this administrative path. I like to call myself an accidental administrator because I didn't think that this was where I would be, but I realized that as I moved up in administration, I was able to impact more and more student lives. First as a department chair.
What skills were you bringing to the table to help shape that? Your personal skills? Would you say your understanding of administrative work, or your vision? What skills specifically were you tapping into, if you don't mind me asking?
So I think the biggest skill it was just my ability to actively listen to people. As I realized as an administrator, people are coming to you with all these different issues and challenges, and as long as you're listening and sort of really trying to understand where they're coming from, you connect with them in that way, and that sort of set me on a really good path. And then coming from my mom and dad, I had a really strong work ethic. That put me in good stead, and I'm someone who likes to get stuff done. And administration, you need to get stuff done. So
you're a results oriented person.
Yeah, very much so. Right? Very much so.
So how did you end up at RCC? How did that happen?
After becoming a dean in Arizona, was looking to come back east. My wife and I were missing family, so I started looking at vice presidencies on the East Coast and became a vice president at Bergen Community College, just over the state line here. Did that for 6 years. Was ready to become a president. Looked to the SUNY system. Was a president for 6 years at Corning Community College out in Western New York.
Wow.
And then when this job opened, it was a nice chance to come back to the New York metro area, reconnect with family. So I jumped on it.
Oh, and how long has it been that you've been a president?
Just since June. So
about June, man. So what do you think of Rockland generally? Just forgetting, we're a small county of 340,000 people. What have you seen so far in Rockland as a newly employed president? What do you see out of Rockland, just generally? So
what's interesting about Rockland County is that everywhere I go, people refer to its smallness, but I don't see it as small because it's so populated. When I was in Western New York, it was big land but sparsely populated. So coming here, the dense population of Rockland, I think, brings people together. I have to say, wherever I've gone, people have been so welcoming to me. I love the diversity of Rockland County.
That's great.
RCC is a Hispanic serving institution. We actually have more Hispanic students on our campus than we do white students.
That's really interesting.
Because the population of Rockland is shifting. So I think the Orthodox Jewish and Hasidic population, that increases the diversity. So I really love the sort of the mixing of cultures that I see happening in the county and consequently at the school.
So how do you balance? I mean, with the various cultures, how do you balance the challenges that they have in maintaining a financial capacity to live in Rockland while going to school? It's a challenging place to live economically.
Absolutely.
So how is it that they could come in? Are there paths that we should know? How does it happen?
Right. Well, the wonderful thing about community college is that it's part of our mission to keep education as affordable as possible. So it really is the best bang for your buck, especially with the rising costs of four-year schools. I mean, if you look at the tuitions of a lot of four-year schools out there, they're out of the realm for most middle-class families.
Absolutely.
So between keeping the tuition affordable, we make sure that our financial aid offices are fully staffed so students are able to access as much financial aid as available to them, whether it's on the federal level or on the state level. really interestingly, last year New York State started this program called SUNY Reconnect,
Oh, yeah.
which is free community college,
Absolutely cool.
for individuals aged 25 to 55 in high demand fields. So what that means for Rockland is about 12 programs that were deemed eligible. So someone who wants to be a auto mechanic or a nurse or an engineer and are in that age group can come to RCC completely free of charge.
It's amazing.
Which is amazing.
It's amazing. And it's boosted enrollment, no doubt.
It has boosted enrollment, yeah.
So how do you balance, and I don't know how you go about it, how do you balance traditional academia with the newer in-demand fields with technical fields? If you could explain that. How do you balance that as you develop your curriculum?
Yeah, it's such an important shift. I mean, for many, many years, RCC built its reputation on being a four-year feeder school. You know, the high school kids came to us and then transferred to usually one of the SUNY four-year schools, Brockport, Binghamton, one of those schools. But over I'd say the past 10 years or so, there's really been an important shift in colleges realizing that that path is not for all students. And as a result, we've had to pivot to provide more workforce development programs, more short-term programs that help people get in, get the credential they need, and get out to the workforce.
Got it. Who are some of the partners? Do you have business partners in the county that you develop programs with?
Yeah, Juano is a great one. So they deal with people with disabilities. We have a program at the college. This is one of those short-term programs called Direct Support Professionals. So this is one of those micro-credentials. This is a term that has gained some popularity now, which are short-term programs. So our Direct Support Professional is a short-term program. So people can come in, do 6 weeks of the program, get the credential they need, and get out to the workforce. Wow. And we have it 3 layers of it, so they can.
Are they stackable?
They are stackable, and
Can you talk a little bit about stackable credentials? I don't know if everybody knows what that means.
Sure. So stackable credentials are essentially these short-term programs that you take them and they lead into the next one. So, for instance, you come in, take 3 or 6 credits, and they prepare you for the next 3 or 6 credits. And then, so they're always building on one another. And usually at each layer, you get a industry recognized credential that you can take with you into the workforce.
Great. What are the more in-demand fields that you're tied to?
Well, I think you can't go anywhere in Rockland without finding someone who was in the nursing program, knew a nurse in the program, or a faculty in the program. It is really one of the signature programs of the college that I'm just incredibly proud of. If you look at any of the rankings around the state, Rockland is always in the top 5, and that's comparing us against a lot of the four-year nursing programs as well. And we're ranked so high because besides our affordability, our students get jobs and they pass the nursing entrance exam usually on their first try. So those are the 3 factors.
Really cool.
And that program is just growing like gangbusters.
Now, I read that you've got a $2 million nursing simulation lab going.
It's actually $3 million.
Go figure. Press gets it wrong. But and what I read, it seemed impressive. But can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So the college got a $3 million federal grant a couple years ago, specifically to build this nursing simulation lab. So it's really to provide our nursing students with that, cutting edge education that they need in order to be the best possible nurse that they can. So we turned a whole wing of our technology center for this nursing simulation lab. So we're increasing the size of a current lab 7-fold, which is going to allow us to take in more students. And in that space, we're going to be stocking it with, as I call it, the mannequin families. All these different mannequins, simulation patients that students are going to be able to train on before they head out to their clinical experience. My favorite experience, I actually got to deliver a baby from one of the mannequins.
Wow. Did you name it? Boy or girl? Or neither. Well, listen, congratulations on that. Let me ask you a question. Yeah. If I gave you $3 million today, what would you do with it?
So The hottest area that I would invest it in for the college is our advanced manufacturing workforce. It's been a neglected area. There are so many good jobs here in the county
Tons.
in advanced manufacturing.
Yeah, we see that at Rockland Works. Tons.
Yeah, and the college, for whatever reason, hasn't decided to invest in that in the past. So it'd be sort of hiring faculty in those fields. That equipment is not cheap. All the different types of advanced manufacturing machines that we need to train students on. So because those are such well-paying jobs, that would be such a good investment for the college.
Well, how does that balance out? I understand the need in advanced manufacturing because it's a huge need. I actually think there's a cultural issue with sending or supporting your kid to get into manufacturing. I think there's a problem there. I don't know how you see it, but if somehow we could change that culturally, because these jobs are high paying.
They are high paying.
And I just don't know how you do it, which leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
How do you see AI and automation entering the workforce development areas, specifically on advanced manufacturing, and how do you react at the curriculum level?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I mean, when AI first was hitting the scene big, everyone was petrified. Faculty just saw it as a mechanism by which students were able to cheat.
Right.
But as people began to learn what it is and what it can do, I've seen the perception shift pretty dramatically, and people are understanding that, like the internet a while ago, it's here to stay, and I don't believe it's going to get people out of jobs.
Right.
I think it's just going to create new jobs and change existing jobs. So what we're doing at RCC is looking at ways to what are the jobs within AI that might be out there. So we're trying to develop some short-term programs there, but also our faculty at large are sort of trying to figure out how to incorporate AI into their classes. Mm-hmm. One example, one of our nursing faculty, she has created sort of an AI patient that a student will be engaging with. How are you feeling? And the AI patient would respond, and you have to keep going with them until you get to a point where you can diagnose. So I think it's using AI in creative ways all across the curriculum is what's exciting faculty now.
But you don't have to create specific subject matter relating to automation or AI, or is it too early to figure that out?
Not yet. I mean, the jobs aren't there yet.
Right.
At least what we're seeing in our sector.
Well, which takes me to another question. Sorry for the questions. Yeah. Emerging. How do you get in front of emerging needs? Like, how do you see that coming and react to that? Do you understand what I'm going?
I mean, for us, a lot of it is looking at the data. So, for instance, in terms of workforce, always looking at the data coming out of New York State regarding where are the jobs, where are the jobs decreasing, where are the jobs increasing, and then becoming more agile about getting programs launched that are responding to that workforce need. So, for instance, I had a great conversation with your previous guest, Mark Geller, about what are the jobs that the hospital is having a hard time filling? And then spoke to his HR director, and coming to learn that they need med techs, they need lab techs, they need sonogram folks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the college and the hospital can work together. To develop these new programs. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because he was all about. He mentioned he mentioned radiology.
Yeah.
He mentioned med tech. He mentioned MRIs. People.
Yeah.
So do you have programs like MRI tech?
Okay. We don't have MRI tech right now. We have EKG tech.
Another huge need.
Phlebotomy.
Right.
As I said to him, I said, as we get more into this, the college has to pursue grants to purchase this equipment, because this is not, and can the hospital give us equipment that is no longer good for you, but we could use to train our students on. So it's those kind of partnerships that are really going to help us meet the workforce need in the county.
That's great. And in terms of just community college as a whole, how have you seen there's been a cultural shift towards community college that wasn't there maybe 10 years ago?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How would you describe that?
Yeah. So when you look at the ticket price of a lot of these four-year schools, as I said, it's really out of the realm for most middle-class families. What I would say so we've seen an influx of families who say, let me send my son or daughter to the community college for 4 years, and then they can go on to the Ivy League school, to the four-year school, it saves them that money that they can use down the road, either for the four-year school or even for graduate school. So right. It's a smart economical decision, and we're seeing folks more and more, do that math and say it doesn't make a sense for us to pay it for it all up front, especially if we can't.
That's great. And how have you recognized any opportunities within the county here, meaning Rockland County, that you are looking forward to initiating or getting involved with? Has anything struck you in the way we are prepping our kids in high school that maybe could be done differently to support an initiative to get kids trained and properly trained in RCC for opportunities that truly exist around these job openings exist around the county? Do you see something that could be changed at the high school level?
So I think the biggest thing is, you don't have a high school kid who comes and says, I want to major in advanced manufacturing,
Right.
because, they don't know what that is, So I think what we need to do is do a better job of working with our high school partners to expose students early to what these careers could be, not only talk about, how it can lead to a true career, with a advancing job path with a good salary, but these are interesting jobs. It's not, when we talk about advanced manufacturing, it's not working on that assembly line. It's sort of doing that behind the scenes, really interesting technical work that these kids tend to like. So it's sort of getting them to understand that, even in healthcare, there are lots of interesting healthcare jobs that are not nursing.
Right.
But
Mark had mentioned that.
Yeah. So to show folks that if nursing isn't for you, you could get a job in hospital administration, which is equally fulfilling. If you're an empath,
Absolutely.
That's a great job for you. But
Absolutely.
if you're more business minded and a little squeamish around blood, hospital administration is a really rewarding career for you. So I think it's really about building stronger partnerships with our high school and our high school counselors to sort of let them know what we see are the well-paying jobs, and can we expose their students to them so they come to us and say, okay, I want to major in mechatronics because I can see what kind of career that could lead me in, engineering, science, things like that.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of good information you're providing, and so I'm going to end this podcast by asking you, what do you want your legacy to be at RCC? As you dream, I'm sure you've thought about it, what do you want it to be?
It's fun. I don't think about. I guess I may be a little too new in my tenure to think about legacy, but I have to say that I'm happy every day at work. Maybe not happy every minute every day, but I'm happy every day.
I don't think anybody is.
But like today, I came to here right from our scholarship ceremony, and hearing these students talk about how the scholarships that they got enable them to take one less shift at their job, to pay their rent, to sort of see the true impact that we're having on students' lives, really changing trajectories of people's lives, especially if, people who never thought college was for them, So I'm just, I'm in this business because I truly believe that community colleges change lives. And, if I could sort of continue to live out that mission at Rockland, it'd be a successful career.
We're right on top of that at Rockland Works. We feel that changing the trajectory of our lives is really what moves all of us. It's a very passionate field.
Absolutely.
So, since I got off a legacy, let me ask the question a different way.
Sure.
Where do you see RCC, Rockland Community College, in 5 years?
So I see it, there are a lot of good things Rockland does well. I mean, they have this incredible honors program that, I'm sure you and others have heard about. What I'd like to see, it to continue to embrace the notion that college isn't just for, folks who want to come and transfer to a four-year school. I want more and more people to say, I can be a phlebotomist if I go to Rockland for a short term, or I can, I can be a commercial truck driver. One of the programs we haven't talked about, which I love, is our auto tech program. We have over 200 students who are majoring in auto technology. And they are creating a better life for themselves. So I just want more and more people to sort of see that college is for them through Rockland Community College.
It's interesting. We have an event tomorrow called Yes to Success, which is sort of like an inspire high school students with hands-on activities event. And RCC's automotive group is going to be there. I believe cyber tech, culinary is going to be there. And, we haven't talked about culinary at all. And then, my background is with celebrity chefs.
That's right.
So I have to ask you this. Could you talk a little bit about your culinary program?
Okay. Another great program where, when you talk with students in that program, they don't think college is for them. They've been working restaurants a lot of times, and they've seen, and this is really, I think, what we need to do a better job of. They've been working restaurants, and they see restaurant as a job. Like, I'm going to be a server, maybe make my way up to manager. If they come to the culinary program, they can see that program, that degree, can take them in a lot of different paths. They could, be a catering manager, work at a hotel, so really to expose them to all the options, really try to open up their vision about what their career could be within the field of culinary.
And you're being modest, because I've been to that facility. It's a great kitchen.
Oh, it's a great kitchen.
It's an amazing facility. It's right here in Rockland. Listen, I think we've gotten some great information from you. And in terms of valuable information for job seekers, it's right there. If you had one final message to the people of Rockland and you wanted to encourage them to come to RCC, what would it be? We have faculty who truly care about our students, and that connection is priceless. So come to RCC. The options are limitless. As I said, you could be a traditional biology major, or you could be an EKG specialist. You could be a auto tech, or you could be a history major. We're the number of programs, both 2-year and shorter term programs, they're growing. They're growing all the time. So just come check us out. See what we have to offer. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for joining us for our second episode of Pathways and Possibilities. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. My name is Richard Gore. I'm here on behalf of the Workforce Development Board of Rockland, and special thanks to Bear Wire's podcast studios for allowing us to do our thing here. So again, thanks for coming. Richard, thank you so much. Being with you, Dr. Mullaney. Thank you. And hopefully you'll listen to Dr. Mullaney and head over to RCC and skill up.